Welcome to Wicked Gingerbread. If you're new here, my name is Molly, and if you have been here before, welcome back. I just wanted to mention something. I know that I was posting videos every week, but with it being summer, I have taken a little break and I'm trying to do some more activities with like hiking and jogging and bicycle riding, and we're going antiquing. So I haven't forgot about you. I love cooking and I'm glad that you tuned in. In the fall I'm going to have some more videos. Right now I'm just kind of doing it random. I'm trying to do maybe 2 or 3 a month just for the summer. And I hope you're having a great summer. So what I'm going to do in this episode, I'm going to make one recipe. So some ingredients we're going to need: sun-dried tomatoes, the chicken breast, olives, and I'm using reduced fat feta. You could use fat-free, you could use regular, and then traditional basil pesto. So really this is a simple recipe, but it's going to pack quite a flavor. And I'm going to try to make between 4 and 6 servings. It just depends on how large you want these. You're also going to need something to kind of pound out the chicken breast. Anytime you're stuffing chicken, you want to try to get it as flat as possible. But before I get started on that, I need to cut the olives. I have about a cup of olives. I have about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of chicken breast. By the way, with the pesto, with it being summer, if you happen to have a nice garden with some basil, pesto, look up some recipes. I've made pesto before with a food processor, and it's real simple. You're basically using Parmesan cheese, lots of basil, pine nuts, walnuts or pecans, Parmesan cheese, garlic, olive oil. It's just really simple, and it really tastes delicious. But if you're in a pinch for time, they sell these in the pasta aisle, and they're delicious. I'm just gonna get everything ready to go before I tackle my chicken. And you want to make sure you're using a different mat for your chicken. I have one that's color coded, so it's specifically for chicken. And you want to use a different one for everything else. So I'm just cutting some Kalamata olives, about a cup. Just cutting them small. Okay, now for the chicken, it's best to use, even though I use this for cutting chicken, to pound them out, it gets kind of messy. So I would suggest using parchment paper. And I've already pre-cut the fat off of the chicken. So if any of the chicken is kind of fat, you want to try to cut that in half. Try to get them as thin as possible. Okay. And you can do a few at a time. You just want them thin. Because all the flavor is going to be in the stuffing. So if you can get the chicken thin, you still get the benefit of the protein. So I'm going to get another sheet of the parchment, and then it's just a matter of pounding it. Okay, and this basically does 2 things. Not only does it make it thin to where if you don't actually pound this out and you're stuffing chicken, it might take a long time to cook. Now, speaking of cooking, you can put this in the oven, 375, about 20 minutes. But because it's summertime, I'm going to just throw it on the stovetop in a skillet and brown both sides. So, what we want to do, this is about a cup of feta. So we're going to stuff it with feta, olives, and sun-dried tomatoes. Now for the sun-dried tomatoes, try to get the kind that's not in oil. This is just kind of dried. And I put it in a food processor. So you want to make sure you have enough. This is also maybe a half a cup of sun-dried tomatoes. And I have about 1/3 of a cup of the basil pesto. So let's go ahead and just get stuffing. Just kind of look at your breast to see which way would be good to fold it over. You want the thickest part to be your platform. So I'm just going to put a little in each one. Sun-dried tomato. This is going to add a little bit of tartness and a little bit of sweetness. I love sun-dried tomatoes. Okay, and then you're going to want to add feta. You can just kind of roll it up. And whatever you don't stuff in the chicken, you can always top it with that also. So that's the stuffed. And then actually you can use a spoon, or I'm just going to use my hands. Just kind of coat this a little bit. So you want to just try to keep it together. If you could only smell, it smells amazing. That pesto has like wonderful smell to it. So what we're going to do is just try to, you could even use toothpicks if you really wanted to. Just going to kind of keep them together. And then if you have leftover, which I do, I'm going to just throw this on the chicken. Try to not have it touch the raw chicken. So I have some that's left over that really wasn't too much on the raw chicken. So yeah, we're just going to brown this on each side. Make sure it's not too hot. Keep it on like a low to medium. You want it to cook through. And again, this is another good reason to pound it out. If you didn't pound it out, you would almost have to put it in the oven. But at least this way they're a little thinner. Okay, this is probably going to cook for about 10 minutes each side. Just be real careful when you flip them over. And then this would pair really nicely with asparagus, or I'm going to put it with some salad greens. Spring mix, would just lightly drizzle it with balsamic. You can also put a little more olive oil, but you are getting a little bit of fat from the feta, olives, and the pesto. So just keep that in mind. So I'll show you the finished dish. These are the like little salad bowls that I'm going to put this chicken on top of. It's really good. I had my husband chop up some regular pepper and onions. It's so easy to make salads when you've got this pre-chopped and ready to go. And then you can buy shredded carrots. Makes it your life easy. But what I really wanted to show you, the finished dish of this stuffed, Greek stuffed chicken. But it is looking so good that I wanted to show you now. And I flipped it, and I did have to use toothpicks. In case one of them starts to open, you can just use toothpicks and keep it closed. And then if you have too much that's getting too brown, just push it off to the side, like some of the sun-dried tomatoes. And then I'll show you the finished dish, I promise. Okay, so the Greek stuffed chicken is done. We're going to start off with our salad base. And get yourself, invest in some nice balsamic. I'm just going to put a drizzle of the balsamic. And again, you could put olive oil. I try not to have that much fat. Okay, and right on top of this, I'm going to put the stuffed Greek chicken and some of the ingredients that fell out. Go ahead and top that off. A little bit of extra feta that was part of the, I mean, come on. It smells like a Greek restaurant in here, and you can the basil, the garlic, the feta when it starts to melt. Give this a try. This looks amazing. And look, the whole thing took no more than like 15-20 minutes from start to finish. Okay, so join me next for Macros 101, brief tutorial. So I thought I would bring you into my office for this portion. I just wanted to give you an overview of macros. Again, that's counting protein, fat, and carbs. It's what I'm actually trying, and you can watch my journey. I found a really good, it's an app, and it's also web-based. It's called Avatar Nutrition. I'm not paid by them. I paid for the app. But I'm seeing that it's if I stick to the macros, however many I'm supposed to have a day, and right now I'm in a deficit. Obviously, I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm trying to put this in simple terms because it took me a while to understand exactly how this works. So macro, you're saying, what is a macro? What's the macronutrient? There's micronutrients and macronutrients. Now remember, I'm not in this field. I'm a paralegal by trade. So what do paralegals do? We research the heck out of everything and try to find evidence. So I've came up with all this from numerous sources. Do your own research. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionalist. Just did a heck of a lot of research. So a macro is, if you look, and it made me actually start looking at food in a different way. Food is all comprised of fat, carbs, and protein. So the first thing you need to do, and there's I can link below, there's free calculators all over the internet. Kind of do 2 or 3 just to make sure you're getting an accurate figure. The first thing you need to do to even figure out how much fat, protein, and carbs you need for the day, and then if you're going to do a deficit, the first thing you'll need to do is figure out what, it's all based on calories. So keep that in mind. You still have a certain amount of calories, and I don't care what anyone says. Any of these fitness programs, Weight Watchers, paleo, keto, at the end of the day, it's still the basic principle of calories in, how much did you use, and if you have a surplus of calories that you ate, but you didn't expend it in energy, a calorie is a form of energy, you're going to gain weight. Well, there's a science to this. It's something called BMR, Basal Metabolic Rate. That is the rate where your body needs a certain amount of calories just to survive, just to renew your, all of your cells and tissues. If you were basically in a coma, your BMR is the total amount you would need just to exist. So that's the first thing you'll need to figure out. It's based on your age, your weight, your activity level, your height. So once you figure out your BMR, your basic basal metabolic rate, then you factor in your exercise. So with I have an Apple Watch, and it calculates, it has, it checks your heart rate, your oxygen levels. So it's pretty accurate from what I understand with figuring out how much energy you're actually expending, because it takes everything into account. So when I ride a bicycle, if I go on a bicycle ride for a half hour, it shows me how many calories I've burned. Long story short, I usually walk between 10,000 and 13,000 steps a day. So I took my average over a month's period for how many calories I burn. So then what you want to do, and you feel free if you want to try to follow this to get a piece of paper and a pen. You take your BMR, use a calculator online. I'll show you some fitness places where I figured mine out. And then you factor in, on an average, how many calories are you burning a day. So for me, my BMR is 1,650 calories for the day. I burn on the average about 800 calories a day, on average. So that is 2,450 calories. That's the total. So I'm trying to lose the maximum amount that is healthy. I think it's around 2 pounds a week, between 1 and 2 pounds a week. So what you need to do is have a 500 calorie per day deficit. So if my total calorie intake, just to break even, is 2,450, I would have to subtract 500 per day, leaving 1,950. So I can still have almost 2,000 calories a day based on my weight, age, height, activity level, and still lose between 1 and 2 pounds a week. Genius. If I stick to the plan, I start losing weight. It's all these indulgences. Hey, let's go to this restaurant, and it's really hard. So that is the basic for how to even figure out what you need. Now the good thing is this app, and there are a few apps. I've also used Chronometer. It's a great app. My Net Diary is also a great app for doing macros. There's a few others. I didn't have any luck with MyFitnessPal, but a lot of people use that for macros also. It has that option. My favorite one so far, and I'll tell you why later, is Avatar Nutrition. It's kind of pricey. You can do a monthly or an annual subscription, but it figures all of this for you. So that's the good thing. So, how do you break down protein, carbs, and fat? It's quite simple. The number one macro that you try to hit for the day is protein. That's the most important factor that your body uses just to function. That is one of the most important. Muscle mass, body functions, brain functions, protein. So, let me say this. 4 grams of protein makes up 1 calorie. 4 grams of carbs make up 1 calorie. 9 grams of fat make up a calorie. So think about it this way. For protein, to try to hit my protein first, I'm allowed to have 162 grams of protein. So if you're thinking in terms of, well, how does that turn into almost 2,000 calories a day? Well, 162 grams of protein times 4, because there's 4 grams in a calorie, that equals 648 calories of protein a day. For the carbs, I have around 200, actually around 197. So if you times that by 4, again it's 4 grams again, that's 788 calories of carbs. Do you understand where we're going with this? If you actually add how many calories that equals, then that will total up almost 2,000 calories a day. So for fat, I'm allowed to have 51 a day. If you times that by 9, that's 459 calories of fat. Sounds complicated, but if you sit down and kind of think about, okay, there's 4 grams of carbs, 4 grams of protein, 9 grams of fat. All of these comprise what makes up your calories. Remember to have a 500 calorie deficit. Now, the only time this is becomes problematic is if you have a lot of days where you're exercising a lot, or days where you just lay around, you're not even getting your 800 or 1,000 calories burned. But that's why I love this app. So let me tell you a little bit about this app. So this is Avatar Nutrition. This is the dashboard. Again, this is an app on your phone, or you can use the web-based. So you see my dashboard here. It shows how much protein, how many carbs, and how much fat. And it has you do a check-in, and it adjusts. If you're sticking to their plan and you're not losing weight, they'll adjust. There's also coaching where you can, if you have questions or if you need some extra help. They give you trophies. And this is my tracker. So today, first it's got consumed. So it's wonderful. Look, it shows you how much protein. So I get a total of 162. I've already eaten 73. For the carbs, you can see how many I'm allowed for the day and how many I've already eaten. And then it gives you remaining. And then here's what it looks like, the food. This is an example of my breakfast. You can easily go in and edit these things. Now here's something that I love about this app, and I don't know any other app that allows you to do this. Because it still all equals the same amount of calories. Remember I said this is 9 grams per calorie. Carbs are 4. Protein is 4. Say you want to have a little bit more fat today instead of carbs. You can go in and edit your balance, and there's a slider. See how that gives me a little more fat? And that gives me a little more carbs. It still should equal that total amount. So that is a reason why I love this app. Remember how I told you that say you work out on some days, so you know that you're going to be burning more calories? It has something built in called high-low days. Say you work out on Saturdays, you can up your intake a little bit. Or if you know you're going to be really low, you can reduce. The check-ins keep you accountable. There's also recipes. There's a recipe builder, and then there's also built-in recipes that you can look at. So, for instance, on the tracker, I just showed you how to make. Let's go ahead and add something to the tracker. So tonight I showed you how to make Greek stuffed chicken. Well, I already added that in my recipes. So this is all my recipes that I have. See, it allows you to search your recipes. There is my Greek chicken. And so it gives you the totals, but I didn't have 6 servings. This is how many servings. You can also put it in by grams. So I only had 1 serving. So this is what it is for 1 serving. It's showing you 1 serving, and that recipe I put in has 30 grams of protein. That's really good. Low in carbs, not bad in fat. It's got like 16.9. only 318 calories. Now that's for the chicken. I also have to add, it's really easy to add things. I also had spring mix. I already have that. And it's good to get yourself a good food scale. So that's about right for how many grams I had. And it allows you to add favorites. You just click on the star and that adds to your favorites. And then you can easily find these things. And then I can't forget the balsamic. I've got that entered in. It also reads barcodes, which is really nice. So let's see how many of these. I think I probably had about 25 grams. Okay, and then you could also copy some of your recipes to another day. I don't know. This, I think it has like a trial period too. So do some research on your own about what macros are all about. And then if you start to figure it out and you want to give it a try, again, I would either try Chronometer or Avatar Nutrition, My Nut Diary. Those are all really good. Now I know with My Nut Diary, I think MyFitnessPal and Chronometer, you can sync that up to your Apple Watch or your Fitbit, and it actually will be completely accurate as far as the more you exercise, the more macros you can have for the day. But just be careful, because I started using this one. I just have it across the board. I just did my average because I noticed some of those, even MyFitnessPal, were not always syncing up correctly. So just keep that in mind. So if you have any questions, or if you want to know more about any of these things that I've tried, any more of these applications that I've tried, let me know. We're all, let's let me know your feedback on if you've tried macros. Good luck with your success. Moving forward, I'm going to try to base a lot of my recipes. I'm going to try to provide my macros. How much fat, protein, and carbs are in the recipes per serving. And I'll keep you posted on. I still have 7 pounds to get down to be where I was before COVID, and then I am trying to lose about 45 pounds. So let's get healthy together. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope you learned something, and I hope I didn't give you the wrong information. Just going by what I've researched. So have a great week, and I'll see you next time.